So I'm going to give you the sort of same introduction that you've heard before, but I personally would think that most people out there would want to see a talk like this. How many of you want to slow down the aging process? I mean, I certainly do. How many of you think you might have friends that want to slow down the aging process? Yeah, I would hope some of my friends would too. So hopefully we've got some people watching online, and I want to thank all of you for coming to this talk tonight and learning a little bit more about how we can take better care of ourselves and have a healthier and more vibrant society. So the question I'm going to ask first is aging just based on genetics? Are there other factors we can control? There's other factors. There's things we can control. Do genetics have a factor? Do genetics have a part in it?
It's always nature and nurture.
Yeah, genetics may have, but we know that we can turn genes on and off based on things that we do. Even things that we think and feel can change whether your genes are turned on and off. So how do we determine how fast an individual ages? I mean, do we do that by like counting their wrinkles?
The lifestyle?
What?
The lifestyle?
Maybe. The thing is that lifestyle sort of, but it's not really an objective way to measure, to say, okay, you're aging fast, you're aging slow, you're aging in between. How do we determine that?
Blood work.
Okay, what blood work?
Blood sugar.
Okay.
Hormones.
So.
I don't know. I'm guessing.
Okay, I know.
I'm gonna throw them out there. I just
but it's
don't know.
okay.
I don't know all my blood work.
So, does anybody know? Okay, that's all right. That's why we're doing the talk tonight. Okay, so Elizabeth Blackburn won the Nobel Prize in 2009 for her work on what are called telomeres, and she's got a lab in San Francisco that she works in. In fact, she's I'll tell you a little bit more about her in a little bit. What are telomeres? Telomeres are cap-like structures or on the end of chromosomes. They're like when the caps on the ends of shoelaces. Okay, just a lot like that. And they protect DNA, and they can accelerate or decelerate the aging process because of their role in health. So it's all about these things called telomeres. This is the most objective way that we can look at how fast somebody ages. So lifespan, health span, and disease span are tied to the length of the telomeres. So the longer your telomeres are, the healthier you are, and the farther you are away from dying from a disease process. The shorter they are, the unhealthier you are, and the closer you are to dying, okay? So telomeres, these caps on the ends of chromosomes, respond to diet, sleep, hygiene, chiropractic care, exercise, and emotions, okay? And toxic exposure. And this is from a journal called Current Opinions in Clinical, Nutritional, and Metabolic Care, January 2011. So the way that I came up with this talk is I kept running, especially when I had my radio show, I kept running across, yeah, you can come on in.
Yeah, sorry I'm late.
Yeah, come on in.
Thanks.
You have to sit in the front.
As you wish.
That's all right. Yeah, okay. So I kept coming across articles that that talked about different articles in different journals that talked about this thing helps telomeres or this thing shortens them, this lengthens them. So I got all the articles together, and that's how I did this talk. If you look at crucial properties of telomeres, they have the capacity to grow, unlike other strands of DNA, so you can make them longer, okay, which is pretty interesting. Long telomeres equal height and health. Short telomeres, many health problems. Telomeres, DNA protective, they shorten with age. Telomere DNA stops mutations and cell death during the renewal process, during cell division. And telomere DNA protects against the proliferation of cancer cells. So we want to look at how we can make our telomeres long and healthy. So anything that shortens telomeres shortens life and degrades health. So we're going to look at the research on this. So number one, if you want to be a geezer, make sure you have lots of unmanaged stress. Okay, toxic stress, which lasts for years, we know shortens telomeres. It creates a sluggish immune system, and shortened telomeres promotes inflammation. Okay, that's from a journal called Brain Behavior and Immunity. I think that's from a book, actually, May 2016. So if you want to be a geezer, develop these personality traits. These personality traits shorten telomeres: cynicism, hostility, and pessimism. They've actually done studies on this, and people that have these personality traits tend to have shorter telomeres. So if you know somebody that's always pessimistic and always hostile, you can tell them, you want to die early, keep it up. You know, you want to get sick early, keep it up. It actually shortens telomeres. This is from the British Journal of Health Psychology in May of 2012. So antidotes to pessimism that can lengthen your telomeres: trade pain for self-compassion, so don't be so hard on yourself. Become conscientious and be purpose to wake up joyful, okay? So if you want to be a geezer, make sure you have significant depression and anxiety. Again, this is from Blackburn's book called The Telomere Effect, and they found out that people that are depressed a lot, chronically depressed, chronically anxious, tend to have shortened telomeres. So these personal histories can be changed, though. Those are things that you can actually change. If you want to be a geezer, make sure you don't exercise. Moderate exercise can positively affect telomere length. That comes from the American Journal of Epidemiology, 2017. So exercise actually lengthens telomeres. That shouldn't be surprising to anybody, because we know that exercise prolongs health, it prolongs life. But now we know why. One of the things it does, it genetically affects us. It lengthens our telomeres. If you want to be a geezer, make sure you never get more than 6 hours of sleep. I mean, that kind of describes me when I was in college, actually. Now, lack of sleep, okay, shortens telomeres. Here's an interesting fact that I found. Some research shows that drinking tart cherry juice in the morning and the evening can help with sleep. So if you're having trouble sleeping, you might want to try that and see if that helps. I don't know if it will or not, but I thought I'd throw that in there because it may work for some of you. Number 6, if you want to be a geezer, develop lots of belly fat. A high waist to hip ratio predicts 40% greater risk for shortened telomeres. So do what you can to lower your percentage of body fat. And what are some ways to do that?
Exercise.
Okay, exercise.
Eat right.
Eat what? Okay, eat right meaning
vegetables and lean proteins and
Yeah.
stay away from sugar.
Yeah, that's a big one right there. Stay away from sugar. Right. And I just read a study not too long ago that talks about, if you climb like, I don't know, three landings of stairs, like 3 times every day or 5 times a week, that greatly reduces your risk of having a heart attack. So the type of exercise you do can really matter as well. If you want to be a geezer, stay away from anything with omega-3 fatty acids. One study of 608 individuals showed that the more omega-3 fats in their blood cells, the less their telomeres declined over 5 years. So that, that's a pretty big shout out for, walnuts and salmon and things like that are high in omega-3 fatty acids. If you want to be a geezer, make sure that your vitamin D levels are low. Although there's no absolute correlation on telomere and vitamin D, research seems to show that adequate vitamin D correlates to longer telomeres. So the question is, what's adequate vitamin D? And I've seen a lot of opinions on that. Some people say it should be like, 70 to 100. I've heard some people say really, 40 to 50 is plenty. I think the jury is still out on that, but I would say, between 40 and 50 at least would be a good number for vitamin D levels. I mean, anytime you get, in the low 30s or below 30, that's very insufficient. So vitamin D is really, really important. What's one of the things that vitamin D does that's really important in the body?
Well, it's a hormone, so it helps you sleep.
Yeah,
it's a sleeping hormone.
It manages hormones.
Manages your hormones.
Yeah. It is a hormone.
Yeah.
And you look at vitamin D, you look at the structure of vitamin D, it looks just like a hormone. It's made from cholesterol. You can look at it and tell it's made from cholesterol. So, it's really important in that regard.
When you say 30 to 40 to 50, do you mean like if you do a blood test to test how much D is in your blood?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Exactly. So, let's see what's the next slide here. If you want to be a geezer, drink plenty of sugary soda pop.
I think, by the way, I think you jumped it.
I did?
Did you do? Oh, yeah. Okay, sorry. My bad.
Okay.
Yeah, it's my bad.
So, is soda the new smoking? People who drink 20 ounces of soda a day, so one 20-ounce bottle, have the equivalent of 4.6 extra years of biological aging as measured by telomere shortness. That's, again, the American Journal of Public Health, 2014. I'll say this, you probably heard me say it ad nauseum. I think it's one of the worst things you can put into your body is soda pop. That and donuts and I could go on and on. So when I see people eating a donut and drinking a Coke, man, what are you doing to yourself anyway,
Diabetic shock.
Yeah, exactly.
Every day.
If you want to be a geezer, avoid coffee. There's 2 studies that showed that drinking coffee promoted longer telomeres. Yeah, that's the way I think too. Yeah, I like coffee. Okay. That was in a journal called Digestion and Disease, June of 2013, and Journal of Nutrition, July 2016.
Does it matter if it's caffeinated or not caffeinated?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Who paid for the study? The coffee company. I mean, I love coffee too.
That's a good question. I don't know.
It's a good question sometimes.
It's a very good question. I did not look into that.
Well, I'm sorry.
Yeah. But that's your homework, is to
we
find that out.
We don't want to know because we want to believe this.
I want to believe it too.
But that's a great
Cognitive
question. I
dissonance
didn't even
is kicking
think
in.
about that. Yeah. So if it's a coffee industry, then who knows?
Chocolate.
Yeah.
Chocolate studies.
So if you want to be a geezer, avoid the Mediterranean diet. People who follow the Mediterranean diet tend to have longer telomeres no matter where they live. And you look at these people who live on these Mediterranean islands, you know, I mean, they're living well into their 90s and they're active and they have really way healthier lives than we do. They're more active. I think I would think this is pretty darn accurate right here. If you want to be a geezer, drink more than 4 alcoholic drinks a day and eat lots of processed meat. Okay, so this is from the International Journal of Cancer and from Blackburn's book, The Telomere Effect. So alcohol and processed meat shortens telomeres. Okay. So, avoid it or don't do it very often, let's put it that way. Foods that lengthen telomeres: fiber, nuts and legumes, fruit, vegetables, seaweed, foods containing omega-3 fats. So, just eating, plenty of vegetables every day and nuts like walnuts, you're gonna be in a good way. Foods associated with shorter telomeres: processed meat, sweetened drinks, white bread, sweetened soda, and omega-6 polyunsaturated fatty acids. So eating French fries, and some of those things are not very good for you at all. In fact, most of what you get at the fast food restaurant would not be good. Yes?
Would omega-6, would that be considered like vegetable oils?
Yes.
Yeah, rather than like seedy oils like avocado or
Right.
olive or so forth?
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, omega-6 is canola oil,
Yeah.
that whole line.
Soy too?
Soy, corn oil,
Corn too?
yeah, safflower oil. You go down the aisle in the stores with all that oil, and most of that oil, you just avoid it. Just don't even go near it. How does our social environment affect telomeres? Well, here's another one, a really interesting study. If you want to be a geezer, live in an unsafe neighborhood with poor social cohesion. That was in the Journal of Public Library of Science, 2015. This is an online open access journal, really good journal. Residents of higher quality neighborhoods had significantly longer telomeres than those that live in moderate or poor quality neighborhoods. Very interesting. If you want to be a geezer, make sure you live in a concrete jungle surrounded by very little greenery. People who live in areas surrounded by parks, trees, and rivers tended to have longer telomeres. That was in the journal Lancet, which is a major medical journal. It's 2009. If you live in an unsafe neighborhood with very little greenery and you drink soda and eat chips, what's that going to do to your telomeres, Yeah, it's going to shorten them pretty good. If you want to be a geezer, make sure you get lots of exposure to pesticides. 7 pesticides have been linked with significantly shorter telomeres to agricultural workers who applied them to crops. So, not good. Okay, we know that toxicity is bad for us in many, many ways. We know that pesticides are bad for us, that pesticide residue in our food is bad for us. But now we know that it does shorten telomeres. Now, I don't know how much exposure we have to pesticides for that to happen, but we know based on this study that it does happen. If you want to be a geezer, avoid chiropractic at all costs. There's a small study that, and they're doing a larger study on this now, that showed an individual under chiropractic care for 5 months had a telomere growth of over 8%. That's pretty good. Very small study, though. You can't necessarily generalize from this study, but I know that the the group that did this study is doing a much larger one. And my dream study would be to do one, to take 90 people that had never been under chiropractic care before, that had never had taken a statin drug, and put 30 of them on statins. 30 of them would be the control group, and 30 under chiropractic care. And then measure their telomeres after 3 months. Do it before and after, and just see what you find. That's a study I would love to do. But this study was in the Journal of Molecular and Genetic Medicine in 2017. Like I said, this group, Chiropractic Biophysics, is the one that did this study. I think they're doing a much larger study now to find out if this is really the case. Dr. Roger Sperry, who won the Nobel Prize for Brain Research, said this: 90% of the stimulation and nutrition of the brain is generated by movement in the spine. So if you get your spine moving better, that really helps brain function. And that's why, I do this in my talk on concussions. It's really important to examine the cervical spine if you've ever been concussed, because you want the cervical spine to be as healthy as possible. And usually it's damaged during a concussion. If you want to be a geezer, make sure you never get married. Married people tend to have longer telomeres. I wanted to argue with that study when I saw it, but it is what it is. Okay, yes.
I wanted to go back and ask about the telomeres as related to the chiropractic. I just read about this presentation just yesterday, so I was lucky to bump into it by time. And I started to read about how chiropractic affects actually the frontal lobe primarily. Are the telomeres related to anything in the frontal lobe?
I don't know. I have that study on my chiropractic and science talk. How it affects the frontal lobe. In fact, I have that study in several of my talks. Really good study. I don't know. I don't know how to answer that question.
Yeah, because telomeres are genetic in the DNA.
Right. It's DNA, and I don't know how that correlates, what you're asking.
Okay, yeah, I was just
But
curious.
I'm very familiar with that study because I know I have it on several of my other talks.
Okay.
If you want to be a geezer, avoid sexual intimacy in marriage at all costs. Couples who engage in sexual intimacy have longer telomeres. Now, to me, that is good news, okay? And that, again, that's in the telomere effect by Elizabeth Blackburn. If you want to be a geezer, internalize any type of discriminatory mark made against you. This is interesting. Low-income black men who experienced discrimination and internalized that had shorter telomeres. That's in the American Journal of Preventive Medicine, January of 2014. If you want your children to be geezers sooner than later, drop out of high school. This is interesting. Babies whose mothers never completed high school have shorter telomeres in their cord blood compared to those whose mothers had high school diplomas, meaning these babies had shorter telomeres from the first day of their lives. Really interesting. That was in the Journal of Perinatology, March of 2016. If you want your children to be geezers sooner than later, make sure you deprive yourself of protein while pregnant. CoQ10 as supplementation has been shown to reverse this. Make sure you get too little or too much folate. So too much folate is just as bad as too little folate during pregnancy, but that changes the telomeres of the progeny. If you want your children to be geezers sooner than later, make sure you suffer extreme stress and anxiety when you are pregnant with them. That's in the American Journal of Obstetrics and Gynecology, February of 2013. If you want your children to be geezers sooner than later, neglect them when they're very young, expose them to many traumatic events like parental alcoholism, extreme depression of one parent, childhood abuse. My mother went through really A and C. She was able to overcome that, though, because of her lifestyle later on. And she's almost 93 now and still going pretty strong. But her dad was a violent alcoholic. And, she was verbally abused when she was young. And she had some other issues, some other things that happened in her life. And through chiropractic, nutrition, and colonic therapy, she was able to really change the pathway of her life. And she's probably one of the healthiest 92-year-olds I've ever seen. Moderate child adversity, though, can be actually helpful and helpful provided the child has enough emotional support during that stressful time. I don't know why I threw that slide in, but I thought it was interesting. So this is the shorten your telomere lifestyle right here. So I would say this. Most of you here probably know people that need to know this information. I just want you to think of who you can talk to about this. Who are some of your friends and neighbors that you can talk to about this topic? Because probably most of you know people that want to live longer. And I would say this: if you know people that look like they're on the path to shorter lifespan, tell them to call our office. We'll be happy to, we'd love to be able to check them out. Maybe we can help them. Maybe they need chiropractic. Maybe they need functional medicine. Maybe they just need a nutrition or a dietary change. But we want to help these people, and we can help them. And one of the things that I saw before I did this slide presentation is also that there are some studies that show that smoking decreases telomere length as well. So you all of you probably know people who at least need some of this information. So we'd be happy to check those people out. That's why we're here. We want to make Lincoln a healthier, more vibrant community. And if we can get this information out and help some of these people change their lifestyles, that's what we want to do. So any questions on what I've talked about today? Yes?
How do you learn where your telomeres are at a point? Is there a blood test, or how is that?
Yeah, there's a lab test you can do. I've never done it, but you can do it online. You can order a kit online and send it in. I think it's about $200 or something like that to do the test. And you can find that out. And it may not even be blood tests. I think it's a cheek swab or something like that. And you can find out, where you're at. Yeah. Like I said, I've never done it. I try and do at least the vast majority of the things on there that we're supposed to do. I mean, our house is full of plants, so at least I got that going on.
Your office is getting there.
Yeah, our office, thanks to Carmen, our office is getting there too. Yeah, so anyway, so you can get it do it online, and you could probably Google, finding out about my telomeres, and they take you to the site, and you could do it online. Yeah, good. So I'll be back in 2 weeks, and we're going to do the importance of posture in health and how that affects us. Great. Thank you for coming tonight, and hopefully I'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
Thank you.
Thank you.